I'm Shane Hoefer, and this is where I sit down with some of the most interesting individuals that come into my life. I'm Shane Hoefer, CEO of Rocky Mountain Forest Products, and today I am sitting down with a good friend of mine, Darren West, our newly promoted COO. Well, not newly promoted, but more intensely focused
Officially,
COO.
yeah, official COO.
But we were just debating about what to talk about today because we're discussing over 10 years.
Right.
And there's so many different angles we could talk about because we know each other so well. But it's been an interesting year of transition as we've been preparing for extreme growth and acquisitions and opening new locations and your new roles. How has it been evolving from being more sales focused to
It's been good. It's a learning experience of not trying to treat everything like a deal and close it as fast as I can, especially working internally. Trying to be more big picture has been the challenge instead of getting stuck on one little detail that as a sales guy I would try to close right away and move on to the next one. So that's but I'm still checking numbers every day. It's hard to get away from that after all the time. But overall, I like it. I love it. It's good to see, how a few moves in personnel or equipment, it's not instant gratification like closing a deal right away and know you're getting paid later that month for it. It's more like, man, those are some moves we put in play 3-4 weeks ago, and look at them now starting to work. And then it's more so ever relying on a team to execute.
Yeah.
More so even than when I was managing a small, 5-guy sales team where, there were some days you'd see me close my door and try to hit the goal myself, not care what those guys were doing. I can't do that here. There's no way possible at all. It takes a team, a big team to handle what we've got going on now. So it's weird. It's like, I could go fix that right now, but that's not the right move anymore. It's let them fix it or learn how to fix it.
Yeah, you and I talked one time about when you're in sales, how you can look back easily at the end of the day at the stack of orders you turned in, or looking at the donut on our CRM showing what your numbers are. Here, you may have a really busy day where you accomplished a ton and you have nothing to point at.
Nothing at all. And you might not see it for a couple of months, and then it has a little bit different feeling, but you're already on to the next, putting the next thing in motion. But it's fun. I've felt my strengths have always been people, talking to people, trying to see what truly motivates them, to gain their loyalty, to gain their trust, let them know we're all working in the same position. So this is a new challenge for me because it's not just all sales dogs that I'm trying to motivate, which I used to be able to do just by working in the next office next to them. Now it's more than ever, as we've said, making sure everybody can play in the sandbox. And not only that, now it's, we just had a discussion with ops and a sales guy where in the past there used to be animosity or it's his fault, that fault, and quick to point and blame. And it started out that way a little bit, like he said, she said, and we got through those and was like, okay, does everybody feel better from that? Okay. And then it was like, this is the way it used to be. And it was like, wait, stop. It did, but we're better than that now. We have better people in the right places. We have better attitudes in the right places. So this stuff's going to continue to come up. It's logistics of millions of dollars of material over the world, right? We're going to have it, but we can handle it better these days. We're just more cohesive.
So how did you tackle that more specifically? So we obviously are very proud about our culture here. We talk about it all the time. And that culture, you and I were kind of on the forefront of implementing starting 11 years ago.
Right.
So started at one sales division, slowly spread to other sales divisions. Marketing had that culture very early on. And then it was antagonistic at times with operations and accounting. And then accounting kind of came on board. Now then we appoint you as the COO, and you have this very important key division that the entire company rests on,
right.
requires. And for a whole series, like because of changes in leadership, lack of coherence in that leadership, it didn't have that same culture. How did it rear its head when you started to get in there? When you like, this is an example of how you saw it didn't have the same culture. How did you tackle that?
It was more, it stands out more to me, right? Because I'm so used to the other way. So it was just like, man, these problems that we're having, you know, sales guy versus ops, if you want to put it that way, I wanted to find, like, what did we create versus what do the customers create? So
In what way?
So, like, okay, well, is this we had this problem because a contractor changed his job pack at the last second. It wasn't communicated properly. Do we have this problem because the contractor got called off that job and just couldn't take the delivery? There's some changes we can't control. And dealing with contractors and projects and deadlines, we're always going to have that. But that was the big thing. I saw, you know, like anybody, like anytime we have a problem here at Rocky of he said, she said, let's get in the room and figure it out. And that's what we did. And you see guys get lost in the weeds. Well, you did this, well, you did that, and bring up old stuff where it's like, guys, stop. Let's define what that problem we're talking about. That's bad. That's lazy paperwork. We created that. Internally, we created that problem. That's what I'm focusing on. The contract, the changes that we can't control, why bang our heads on those right now? We can be more efficient, maybe better prepared to roll with those in the future than we've been. But I want to isolate the stuff that we're creating, right?
Yeah.
The bad paperwork, ops side, but not checking in special orders properly, not checking in yard stock properly. Where's that material going, right? It's never just, oh, it was all that sales guy, or it's all this ops manager. You know what I mean? No,
Yes,
it's not. It's a lot of different things. And so for that first meeting of being in the ops role in our old school of, is that what they're saying? Okay, good. Get them in the same room.
Yeah.
I just wanted to watch it. To me, the managers can figure out the details of how not to do it. But I, again, was just defining, like, guys, we created that one versus we had zero control over this guy, and we catered contractors. We have to be flexible there.
So when you and I were working together in sales, our focus was never to point blame or to focus on why something happened. It was like, let's fix the problem. Then after the problem's fixed, and we can assess why it happened, and let's make sure it never happens again. And it was never focused on pointing fingers of who screwed something up. Like, people are already going to feel that. You don't need to point it out or highlight it. How did operations respond to this? You said they wanted to start by finger pointing.
Right. And we let them. And we let them finger point, right? Because I want to hear both sides. And that's where, again, I want the managers to figure out the details of the execution. I want to know, are any of these preventable in the future, and what do we have to do to teach these sales guys or the ops guys, gals, to recognize this stuff before it happens, if at all possible. I'm just truly focusing on controlling what you can control. It's with 27 sales guys, right? It gets tough when then we're pushing 14, want to get to 20 deliveries a day. So we're also learning, like, the gray area that we've learned to navigate so beautifully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's times where, so things came out of that meeting, like we might implement a 48-hour change rule, right? And to me, that still needs to be gray. If you're breaking down a deck pack, 48 hours. Right? You have to give us 48 hours to make that adjustment before your scheduled delivery date. So, you know, stuff like that, the in the weeds things come out of those meetings as well. And there's just nothing like getting people in the same room and being like, is that really what happened? Is that really, you know? And by the end of it, ops was putting it on them and the sales was putting it on themselves. Like, nah, man, I really could have done better. So it's the value of those meetings, and it's the value. It's something you've taught me since the beginning, right? Like, there's miscommunication, right? Especially different locations. You can't fix that by emailing or having the managers like, no, this is important. Let's stop right now, all get in the same room and see if that's really it. And again, by the end of it, they were both saying, "Oh no, it's my fault, man. We can do better on this," and that's what we did. We decided, like, no, it's.
So
lazy.
how did you get them to have that level of ownership? Like, what is it that you point to where that? I get that you got them in the same room, but how did you switch from them wanting to point the finger and be like, these damn sales guys are always causing these problems, to listening to the sales guys and being like, well, I could have.
It goes back to the culture that we're trying to implement, that we are implementing, right? Like, do you want to be here as a Rocky Mountain guy? Do you see your career here? I wouldn't call a meeting if I didn't have that.
The guys in ops, the sales managers and salesmen that were there, I truly feel they want to be here. They want to make this place better. So that's where it's just like, prove it, right? Like, you want to run the best operations in the world. We got to figure this out. You want to make more money as a sales guy and stop dealing with backside problems? Tighten up your paperwork. So I think it's that first, right? Like, do we want to be the best? Do you guys still want to be the best at your job? This is what it's going to take. And putting that on them, like, we're here to help, but you're running the business just the same as we are, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's your business too. So thankfully, and it took lots of work to get people in those positions that we can talk to like that truly do have the ownership of it.
So let's talk about that. So what makes somebody, I'm thinking about people that might be listening to this that don't know Rocky Mountain, and they're like, well, how do they create someone that's a Rocky Mountain guy, or someone that is all bought into a company? How do you think that people like that birth? And then secondly, what do you do when you see someone that you're like, this dude is just not a Rocky Mountain guy? How do you handle that?
Yeah. Well, the first part,
As far as the guys that I feel are Rocky Mountain guys and gals that are a Rocky Mountain, they've been through some ups and downs with us. They've stuck with us maybe early on, seeing what we were working on. Then two, they don't talk about the company itself, the machine itself that we talk about so much, right? Like, don't disrespect the machine. That's not an option. So the big difference is, are they questioning somebody's doing their job? I'll take that any day, which might sound weird in the beginning, but I'll take that any day over somebody questioning you or me or the values or, core Rocky Mountain, what we believe in, what we're doing here, and what our goals are. If someone's questioning, they don't know how to buy, they don't know how to sell fencing, they don't know how to sell contractors, like, sales manager can work on that and see, like, why doesn't this guy believe? And in the beginning, sales guys, right, it does take a while. It does take a good or bad situation and see how we handle it.
Yeah.
Right? To know who we're working for.
Trust is earned.
Absolutely. Just like in the beginning with me. Like, it was a sales job in the very beginning, right? Then as I got to know you and Dennis, your father, right, it was just like, nah, I'm going to stick in. Like, there's potential here. So it's from the top down. And again, early on, the big deciding factor for me is it's like, man, does he keep talking about the company, right? Or why we buy, or why are our trucks this size? Why are your forks that size? Are they looking at that? Or is it, no, I got a problem with this guy, right?
So how did ops compare to when you did this in sales? So what you're talking about applies to sales, ops, whatever. But there is, from my perspective, there's been one difference, and that historically is that in operations, we had a higher turnover rate over the past 3 years than we had in sales. So you walked into taking over this very important vertical with a higher turnover rate, didn't have guys with as long a tenure. We had a few,
Right,
but not as
like the
many.
sales, yeah.
So how did that change the dynamic of people being bought in? You have a greater percentage that haven't had years for us to earn their trust.
Yeah, they absolutely haven't, but it's me and our teams, but it's just being real with them. Like, look, this is where we've come. We've hit almost every goal that people used to laugh at, right? Like, oh, really, guys? You're going to do that? Yeah. Actually, we're ahead of it again. So it's being able to bring that track record in to them as far as just like, I've had some success in other areas of this company.
and we're going to do this. It's just like we used to say back in the sales, man, when we weren't sure what sales guys are coming with us and whatnot. We're doing this. You guys want to be part of it? And there's just no deviation, no question in my mind
that's it. So then you get one guy on, and then he starts repeating what the leader's saying, even though I'm in the different office or we're different, you know, whatever. And then you get it to breed itself within the next guy's bought in, right? And you get the right people in place with focus. This year, I think, too, they know what they're doing. They know what they're expecting, you know, they know what I expect of them.
And we're doing our best to truly define roles. We've added 2 roles that have maybe been there in the past, maybe one kind of person did, but now it's defined.
$50 million operations with all the trucks and guys and deliveries. Again, shooting for 20 deliveries a day, we need a dispatch guy, right? Mm-hmm. We always kind of had a guy that would do dispatch, but that wasn't his focus. And then it trickles down, and it shows these different levels of job opportunities within ops. So then you can hire guys that are just like, well, no, you need to start here. You might even start picking up trash, but look at the way you can work up into ops.
So from my perspective, one of the things that really changed since you've taken over and made a big difference, and I want to get your opinion on, is we went from, I remember being told, I was asking who's in charge of dispatch or this or that or whatever, when we would have meetings with operations, and frequently the answer was, oh, well, we work as a team back there. And on the surface, that sounds great. Everyone loves teamwork. But it also surfaced that a lot of times no one knew who was exactly in charge of something. How has clearly defining who was in charge of what increased that feeling of that they are part of the machine?
Right.
Giving them a specific area of responsibility and a new chain of command.
It does everything. It makes the office more structured. They can now, you know, it's like, oh, we all have each other's back. Like, well, that's great until something comes up and 2 of you are out and you weren't planning on it.
Can the third really handle it? Can your foreman step up and come into the office? So I think not just accepting that anymore, like, well, no, that's great, we all have a team, but I want to know exactly when you're out, who do I go to?
When a truck gets a flat tire, who does that go to? When the foreman's having, or a pickup's having a trouble, who, you know? So it's basically taking this $50 million op and breaking it up into the sections. We got the guys in the yard and their foreman. We got dispatch, and we got the ops manager being able to keep an eye over everything.
It is what it is. The guys in ops too, lots of them strive in structure. It's different than the sales guy that's just like, I don't need anything but a phone. And he might be right. And then we let him go do his thing, right? He can make a good living. The ops, whether it's a different mentality, different color, however you want to say it, right? Like, it's generally, they strive with structure, and I'm starting to see it, and then they're even building on it.
You know, we had a big
win with putting his yard into zones, right?
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about this. So previously, it was basically everyone just kind of came in today, maybe to be like, hey, you deal with customer loading today. I'm going to go unload trucks. And then we'll try to clean up the yard at the end of the day.
And the same thing, everybody's a team, we got each other's back, and then it's just like, well,
and we got through the day, but it wasn't very efficient, and the yard looked like crap at the end of the day most often.
It wasn't wrapped up, and then the trucks weren't loaded for the next day.
And so what did we do? What did we do?
So he divided up our yard, which, again, we've got multiple acres in both yards and millions of dollars of inventory, right? No one man as good as can be, as good as is, like, let's be real, you can't, it'd be like us trying to watch this whole company. I mean, there's an extreme example, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, we need a team to do that, and it's by default or design, you did that at the top, and it's finally made it all the way across everywhere, right? Accounting has structure, the marketing does, and now for him to see that everywhere in the company and be like, I can do this too. So he divided it up, special orders, overstock, boards and siding, granite, and then fence row. I thought it was beautiful in the beginning, just being like, perfect, we got dedicated guys, everybody knows who to call for what. You know, if a sales guy, if it's a granite guy, no, you call him. If it's boards, them. So to me, that was the beauty of it. But then too, he's just like, well, no, that's great. That is a good part of it. We know who's in charge of it. I get to know who cares about their job. You know, what do you mean, man? It's like, I don't have to say anything at all. I can drive by the special order horseshoes, and if it's a mess, I know it's on these two guys, and they don't care about it. Or, you know, so he's starting to learn at 23 how to lead guys and then give them structure.
So then, too, if you're looking at that whole yard and like, yeah, you're responsible for this.
Shit, I got two guys out today, and he didn't help me tack down wraps yesterday. That's what I got today. Versus, you're responsible, and if it's so clean you don't have to touch your horseshoe, and then you want to come help the guys up front clean up, then great. But I loved it. It's a good way for him to not micromanage. He can just go around the yard and tell who cares about their job that day.
What I loved about it, and this is why I love this general management philosophy, is now has bought in. He looks at this yard, and when he sees how well it's running, he looks at it and it's just like, because this is my plan.
Yep.
He was never have to be sold on this was the plan.
Right.
He already believed in it, so he wanted to prove that this was going to work. And then when it does work, he gets to look back and say, I did this, I contributed to the machine being better. And then when I come through and I get to talk to him, I don't get to say, hey, thank you for doing what you were told to do. It was like, hey, thank you for coming up with this plan. What you did has made this company better. So it creates for more authentic compliments when you go through and you give someone props because they just didn't follow orders. They actually contributed. And so I think the only danger that puts us in, the only downside to this is you got to, at times, give chances to people that could make it worse. That things could get worse before they get better.
And that's where seeing the vision, and at first he tried to just do it, right? He tried to just whip that whole yard into shape, all himself. Like, it's exhausting. Could him and Jesus do it? Eventually, yes. But that's not what we're trying to build. And that's where trying to empower a young leader at 23 who's proven his value by raw work every day. He came to me, man, I feel really weird not being on a fork, right? And I was trying to explain to him because he was just like, he was still in the mindset of like, me back in sales. Like, look what I sold today, man.
I feel really weird not making 100 calls today.
Right. And it was like, same thing for him. Like, I just don't feel as valuable not on a forklift. And that's why I pull him aside. It's like, man, it is what it is. I can replace someone that knows how to drive a forklift. Maybe not right now, but with the jobs. But it's easier to find a guy that can run a forklift
versus run our whole yard.
And here's a to-do list.
Yeah.
Right? We don't, we talk about our to-do list, guys. Like, is not that, but just getting him to think different immediately, man. Like you always preach, and thinking bigger than he ever has, and that's it. And now he's progressing, man. He's going to be moving closer to work. Much better move for him. He's seen how he's done the labor, right? So now teach it. Like, I can't replace a guy that has his product knowledge. It would just take years.
Yep, it takes years to get that much knowledge.
It is what it is. So it's like, man, if we can find guys that can hustle and build packs, you're way more valuable coordinating all of that, keeping an eye on our trucks that are coming in, and putting the material in the right place. Because that's our biggest challenge is product knowledge. And
biggest challenge for
it's
the
a
company
different
as a
type of
whole or for
product.
operations?
I think it's a different kind of product knowledge than the sales guy, right? The sales guy. He can read about that and hopefully have enough value points or get it in his head. This is what it's being used for. This is why it's the right product. This is why we have a lot of it, I guess. The guys in ops need to know, is this special order? Is this yard stock? Is this, man, we had some like 1x10 e-pay boards out in the yard, right? Like that needs to be treated differently than these rustic pickets that just came in on a full load. So it's product knowledge, even taking it a step deeper, right? Because you truly have to know how to handle it, what needs to be wrapped, no questions asked, versus like, well, we're okay outside. Then even the step further on the vendors, right? Like, well, no, this is a old school Rocky Mountain Mill contact. This material needs to get out right away. or keeping his pulse on the big HOA jobs or these perimeter jobs that we're running for weeks. Like, that looks like yard stock, but I know it's all long hill. Tag it and put it in a different spot. So the value of those guys is where it's at. So we have to keep pushing him to get better, which we did, and it just happened to be a weird spot for him because he's now, pointing fingers a little bit more,
Right.
or checking things in, versus just like, no, I built 10 deck packs today. So it's,
Same thing
and then
as,
letting him run with it, right? And letting him, I didn't quite agree with that call, but I let you make it.
Or you and I both know this shouldn't have been built today, or like these boards should not be on this pack. Where are we at here? Well, this, and this, and this. Okay, that's great. Now this, and this is on you.
I think that's one of my biggest challenges is when you see somebody that makes a decision that you disagree with. You would tackle the problem differently. Knowing when to speak up from a place of, years of experience, don't do that, versus giving them the leeway to try it on their own. And sometimes it's just like, I'm 90% certain this is going to fail, but it'll be a good learning experience.
At what extent? Right.
But sometimes you get surprised and you're like, wow, that worked way better than I would have thought.
And I think that's something that you've taught me and that you've always been very good at, is just like, oh, we've been doing this for a while, man. I don't think that's going to work. But hey, things have changed. I'm not in the trenches as much as I used to be. Let's see what you got. I think I got a cleanup plan if you do, real bad. But it's that type of, because then that's when they start turning into a Rocky Mountain guy, right? They aren't just being dictated. You work for me, you tell me. It's more just like, you say it all the time, man, but you used to do it when I'd bring a problem to you. What would you do? Cool, go do that. Knowing in the back of your head, like, oh, this is going to blow up, but he's going to never forget it. Or I probably would have done the same thing. I'm going to see how he explains that. And then to me, it was just like, and the owner of the company is trusting me with some pretty big decisions right now. And that's when you start thinking more company-like versus just like, this is going to make me money this month kind of thing. And I'm seeing that in Mike, in a 23-year-old guy that's only known labor, managing guys older than him, is what it is, labor.
So the method I use to you, you're saying you use to these other guys. Mike
I
tells
implement
you
it whenever I get a chance to, right? I feel like it needs to be more structured in ops, and I'm still learning. I could be wrong there. But anytime, and not anybody,
Sure.
right? But anytime a guy, I see that opportunity, I absolutely do everything like that. What would you do? Why? How'd we get here? Right? And they look at you different, dude. It's basically being human being communication, right? You right away like, no, you do this and you f***ed up and that's why we're in this spot. Don't ever do that again or I'll fire you. Okay? That might have used to work in 50s, 60s.
Exactly, yeah.
But now it's just, f*** you, man. And especially when these laborers are so valuable to the whole world right now. A good forklift driver, reliable. And that's what we have. So it's more just like, okay, how do I keep empowering him as a young leader? But I've had to go out and be like, man, what was that?
Yeah.
That was out of left field. And that is that motivated by a bad day? Is there something else going on? Or you just wanted to, like, careful with your power kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I want him to lead that way too, because then you get guys doing stuff proactively, being a better person because they see how we work, man. And
Sure.
it's happened with the sales guys, and look, there's no turnover. We have a waiting list for a sales job right now. They're
what's
making
been the-
more than they ever have. And I think it's just like, let's be real, guys. Like, this is Shane's company, but we're all in this together. And we all have been given quite a bit of trust. Obviously, you've seen something in the people that we've given trust to, but it's just like, let's go. Let's make the best out of this. We have a unique opportunity.
Yeah, and I truly don't view it as my company or my family's company, because the things that go on around here are not because of me. You know, ultimately, there's just someone. Sometimes the final decision has to go to somebody. That's it. My role is that, and keeping us all generally moving in the same direction. But
Right.
everybody, because we run it this way, how would you solve this problem? What's your growth plan for your division next year? I feel like everyone at all levels is contributing to what our strategy is and where we're going, and so that's why, we recently are working with this company that does SEO and press releases and stuff like that, in particular for my personal brand, and they wanted a press release about what I'm doing. And so I threw out an idea of something, and they're like, well, no, we need something more hard facts, like talk about how you got the company up to 50 million. And I was like, I can't do that because I didn't get the company to 50 million. We got the company to 50 million. And that it's a we culture. And I said, there's never a time that I would go out there and just say, I got us to $50 million and I did this and I did, because I didn't do anything other than rally. I got some people together, got them to work together.
You got us to rally, but you continue to keep people to think differently about business and to think on a higher level and to be, Will put it as the philosopher's king, right? Like, very rare do you get next gen who doesn't want to either dictate because he's the man, or I'm doing fine, guys, I'm out. I'm financially fine. You're the guy that has seen the pros and cons of how it was ran, truly absorbed those, truly studied how, not just what your dad was saying, but the ripple effect.
Yeah.
In certain situations, right? And the good things that he did and the ripple effect of that. So you brought that with encouraging guys to think bigger than they ever have, not only about here, but their lives. So everybody loves it. And I, as a friend and employee, the fact that you say that is awesome, and that's who you are. But you're the biggest reason that we're able to think and run the way with the managers to run it like, no, I know Shane would like this. To give us the freedom to not check with every little decision we make, to run it by you, just empowers the shit out of us. And that's what I got, like a little micro version, I hope, going of in ops, because all of this is mental. All of it's mental, man. We have the same footprint. We have the same suppliers, same line of credit. Right? Our new CFO is saying, man, how you guys doing on this little baby line of credit? Seriously.
Yeah.
We're doing what we did, 12 million profitable at 50.
Yeah.
That's mental, bro. It's not just, no, we got the best drivers, we got the best loaders, we got some silver tongues on the phone. No, we don't. Maybe a couple, right?
Right.
But it's not. Half of them never sold before. Half the guys in the yard, no, man, they're driven a forklift, some of them. But they have the right attitude, so they can learn.
I was just going to
say,
say, at its core, we're looking for an attitude. And like you said, you're looking for that Rocky Mountain guy, and that's just, we're looking for someone that wants to contribute to something bigger than themselves. And the better you do, like, your areas start small, and you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why I always talk about trying to breed a culture of leaders. So, so if does a great job with this yard here, then it opens the door. Hey, you want to try your hand at something even bigger?
Absolutely. Or he's going to have a right-hand man that's just like, well, no, Mike can leave whenever you want. I got this place, and I'm ready to show you. So it's more so than ever the attitude, right? Like we've always said, we'd rather have a sales guy that doesn't know what a 2x4 is, doesn't know the old lumber.
Yeah.
Right, the old traders.
Absolutely.
Like, we'd rather have that guy that's just like, man, I see the business potential here. And want to be part of it, because me and you guys are always changing, or always, like, you guys are going to hit 50 million. Great. 80.
Well, I'm really glad that you're in charge of ops now, because when you say that, we had gotten feedback, you and I, over the years from ops, like, that means nothing to us back here. Like, those numbers, they're ambiguous. We have no point of reference to that. We just think about the number of times we're loading trucks or doing whatever, how many customers come through here. And, that was an early warning sign of like, boy, we do have a big disconnect between...
Big disconnect, and then also the perception of like, you don't have like any influence on this shit. where it's just like, wait, we did get to 20 deliveries with the same amount of drivers. Great, we're invoicing more off trucks. We got load times down. You guys are leaving at 5 o'clock and trucks are loaded the night before. Like, that's something that we can build on again. But again, it's there's no magic one person, two people in this company that have done it. But it's Mark Mitchell, man. He says it every day still. Like, man, he worked for Dennis for 22 years. I mean, what, he's on 30 years, 27 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So he did that more than any of us. And he can't point to any other thing for our growth. Right? And he's got a bigger snapshot than most of us.
Yeah.
Within Rocky Mountain's evolution. And for him to not be an old, like, set in his ways, I never did it this way, and then ain't going, like, it's no nothing. It's just like he has seen firsthand the leadership style of not being dictated, and he's still just.
So let's use that as a jumping off point. Mark was able to evolve. Not everyone was able to evolve.
Yeah.
There were people that thrived under my dad's style that I thought that once they were given more freedom, more
better, right?
Yeah, that they would be happier, and that was not necessarily the case.
And yeah.
And so you right now are in the middle of a smaller evolution that I would love to poke around on. We've already kind of done it, but going from being more sales focused, then it was kind of sales with some purchasing. Now it's like you're going to do purchasing and ops, and it's a huge shift. How has that evolution been, and why did you jump at that opportunity as opposed to sticking with what you know more? I mean, more intimately from your
I think it's
career.
it's more I saw what I could take from sales managing and connecting with people and take it into a new arena, right? And they've seen my boots on the ground enough. They've seen me drive. It wasn't like just there's a sales manager going to come tell us how to move this stuff. So I had that cred by default, or at least I think I did in the beginning. But it's like anything. It's like when I used to tell you, like, man, wait, let me get one victory with this sales guy. Let him see, like, a close we put into place work perfectly, and then he's there. It's that, but you got to do it 4 or 5 times with some of these guys. Like, I told you I had your back. I told you we were getting new forks, and now here they are. I told you I'd work on the structure. I told you I'd look for raises when needed, and I've done that. So it's more so than ever. Well, sales guy, you can get talking, and I might have promised that. I don't know if the deal still went through, right? Mm-hmm. Here in the beginning, I'm keeping it black and white to see who's coming with me, then empower them. As the sales manager, right? I didn't want to sell forever,
Right.
But I could, and I could do it if I needed to hit my own numbers. But the goal was to have a team that sold more than I ever could by myself, right? And to keep adding to that. It's the same thing with the guys in ops. It's like, all right, I'll keep babysitting this one for now. That's going to be off my plate in 2 months. I can guarantee that. And constant communication.
So, but did you choose? We had talked that we saw that there were issues in ops, and we needed someone that could get that culture injected in there, which you've done amazingly. Did you do this because you knew this is what the machine needed, and you were like, I can do it? Or at just a personal level, did you want the challenge? And
I wanted the challenge, and I truly felt I was, with my background of sales, my background of seeing ops at 12 million with Fulton. It's the same thing like your dad. Like, there's some things that Fulton did that should stay in line till the end of time. There's some things that Fulton did that were gone day one. But to answer your question, I did see it as a challenge, and I also saw it as I've worked my whole life for a position like that. I have the sales background, so I know what it's like from the sales perspective. Spend enough time with ops to see how they see sales side. I've also seen like, no, that's a lazy sales guy's paperwork causing that. No, that's a major cog in the machine that we need to fix. So it was the challenge and the bigness of it. You know, I was controlling the material coming in, right? And I felt like I was good at that because I had the sales guy's perspective of what they wanted to sell, what they were confident in selling. So if I can get it here, why can't I get it out with that kind of attitude and confidence in the sales guys, and getting to the point where it's like we can be confident in the mountains, we can be confident anywhere with our delivery times. So it was the bigness, you know. Wasn't bored with sales. I'm a sales dog till the end of time. I'm trying not to check numbers 5 times a day, maybe 1 or 2. But that motivates me too, and that's just like, well, no, that obviously got to keep that revenue coming in. But I know we're doing this with still some loose ends in ops. We're doing this with not the confidence that I want in sales guys in ops. So to me, it's just, man, there's still low-hanging fruit.
Well, I think it's good from my perspective, when I watch the high level, I frequently see so many misunderstandings. And they've been, I can I'll bring up more extreme examples, but, I remember early days of having people in marketing, they were convinced they could create significant portions of our revenue without using sales at all. We could just do it all digitally.
Right.
Sales thinking we don't need any marketing, just give me a phone, like you said, give me a phone and I'll get the numbers on the board.
Right.
There's always been these big disconnects of, that the sales guys don't respect the yard personnel, or the yard personnel thinks that it's the cush job with no stress sitting in the air-conditioned office. And what I like that is kind of intentionally, but not always so, we are getting more and more crossover, so people have more understanding. We have people that started in the yard that are now working in sales and are, eventually going to be considered as management candidates.
Yeah.
And we've got, our operations manager, a former sales guy, going over to be our day-to-day operations manager. And I think the more we have this crossover, where we have true empathy, true understanding of what it's like to walk in that guy's shoes, and realizing none of them are better than another, none of them are more important than another.
Right.
It stops that. I see it in so many companies.
Oh, so many, and we got not lucky, but it's hard to have that crossover, right? Because you nailed it, right? Like, well, now those guys just make lots of money sitting in their offices. Like, well, no, they owe the company money at the beginning of every month. Like, do you know what that feels like? That's how we used to combat it. Now it's more just like, I talk numbers, one with, because he's had the sales things, right? So that registers. I want all of them to be familiar with numbers, and that's something that they never did, by design or not. But it had the old mentality of like, oh, we sold that much today, where's my money? Where now it's like, sales guys, stop discounting your deliveries. You're counting for the ability to pay these guys more. That's where raises come from. Or making us more efficient by good paperwork is going to cross over to more money available in ops, whether you guys see it or not. So I want that true crossover of like, now we hit a record month and you guys aren't even tired. Like, last record month we had was telling them, and they were like, man, no way. And to me, it's just like, it wasn't like, fuck, I bet. I couldn't have done another thing. Yeah. It was just like, man, no way. And it's just like those little things, like, okay, we got more. We got more room to be bigger in ops now, because those guys just did the biggest month we've ever had, and it didn't feel like it. We can build on that. But I want them to be aware of the numbers and know that they're a large part of it. Just as the sales guys are like, your little mistakes, your little discounts, they do hurt you. But look at the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And look at the ripple effect if you did it right and made us more efficient. Like we didn't have to call and check on anything with a sales guy prior to that delivery, for an example. Because those guys, they need victories, right? Anybody that we have here, back to the attitudes that we want, they want to win, right?
Yeah.
They want to see progression. They want to see their incomes better. They want to see their family's life better. Like, that's why this is working, is we have people like that. But then it challenges you and I as leaders, right? Because like we're getting higher caliber guys everywhere, so it's going to push us to be better. And when you get everybody working like that,
Yeah.
that's, in a nutshell, how we've done this. Is the right people, not treating them all the same, knowing when to empower and when to show a little power.
Absolutely.
But then the over communication of like, I'm glad you handled that one perfectly, or don't ever do that again. But it goes back to being human, man. Like, you've never come off as a boss to me. And I know you say it all the time too, but it is what it is. You're the leader of this company that has crazy growth. And again, nothing's changed. We have a marketing department. We don't have 10 new trucks. We don't have 2 new locations, and you've taken it from 12 to 50, right? It's purely mental. I don't care what anybody says. No. But then the byproduct is now we have the hardest workers we have. We have the most dedicated sales guys we ever had, right? We didn't know it was going to go that far, I don't think. It was more just like, no, come do your job, be good at it, but don't kill yourself.
On the mental side, when you said it's purely mental, I couldn't agree more. I talk about that all the time. You can call it mindset, your philosophy, whatever. How would you, in your words, in Darren West's words, how would you define what is it that went on mentally over the past decade that got this dramatic change?
We're working with somebody instead of for. And there's unlimited potentials that some we can see and some we can't see yet. But I think it's just that nobody, even more so these days, younger guys, they don't want to go work for somebody, especially when they see everybody and they're starting their own businesses or YouTubers, all that shit. It's just like the idea of being told what to do every day, or like the egos are gone, right? So $50 million business without not too many huge egos anywhere. I think that's rare. So I think it's just us being consistently who we are and thinking, no, this is the type of person that we need to be in this place. We never used to think of that. And there used to be so many decisions made based on what would happen internally, based on what's Dennis going to say if I do this? What's ops going to do to me if I do this? You know, what manager's going to yell at me if I do this? What's going to be, we all heard it, right? This isn't your company where you're sitting here telling me it is. And again, your dad ran this thing beautifully for as long as he did and created the foundation that has us sitting here, but 12 to 15, right? Wasn't that kind of it? Man, if we hit 15, 14. 15, maybe 15.5. To just, so, love your humbleness, bro, but it is, what other outside, again, we got a few new retail leads.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a few guys, but you know what I'm saying. But you know, like if you look at the core of what we're doing, probably we might even have more trucks.
So how have you personally changed the way you thought, other than it's you're working with instead of for? How have you had to change the way you thought about anything to reach the levels of success that you're at? How have you evolved in 10 years, and how has that contributed to your success here?
I think it's more I'm learning to manage for the future, if that makes sense. Like, not just get through the day and see how much money I can get on the board. It's more I'm bigger, slower moving pieces, and then just blind faith, really, knowing that you got my back if I fuck up, but that I know what I'm doing, and I know I'm doing it for the right reasons, and it's not just for revenue that day. It's if we can build this big enough, if I can make this ops at 50 million doing what we're doing with the yards we're doing, running flawlessly, I know that we can duplicate it. And that keeps me going, right? The $1 billion goal.
Yeah.
But I've had to slow down a little bit.
In what way?
Give people a chance to do their job. Where I might think could be done quicker, but I'm wrong. You know, we talk now like the machine's so big, like it's like we're gonna turn left up there. We better start doing it now. It's that to a T. Like I'm setting up the spring right now is the way I look at it. Where in the past on the sales it would be like.
If when you were in sales, you could change one thing today and see results by this afternoon.
Exactly.
And when you were running a team, you could change something on your team and see results by the end of the week.
This is months.
It's like the more you're in charge of, sometimes the longer before you see the results, and that can be.
And being patient of like, no, he's working at a good pace and he is progressing on it. Let it be.
That's been something for me. Yeah, that's been something for me too, to sit back and be like, are we moving in the right direction, and how do I gauge it? Because sometimes there's not a clear, measurable metric
for a while.
Yeah, like you can't look certain things you can't look at over the course of a month. You know, it's like I'll probably be able to see if we're going in the right direction in 6 months.
It was like the delivery calendar, and it's, you know, we were out 2+ weeks forever. And like we decided, like that does cost jobs, but it wasn't just like buy 5 trucks and let's do 20 a day. It got to the point where I had to stop looking at the delivery calendar instead of being like, why isn't there more on there? This could have gone further. That. It was like, get that off your plate. Do they have everything they need to do what you're asking? Do we have the forks? Do we have the manpower? Is the stock right? Is the procedures right to truly get to 2 days at 20 deliveries a day with the stuff we got coming and going and our clients, you know? And it is. But it's like you said, it happened overnight after 6 months of working on it.
Yeah.
Like anything, right? Like it was, because it's like sales guys in the very beginning, don't put them on commissions too soon or too late. We're setting them up to fail. So it's like I got to keep my big goals in mind and know that like it doesn't reset every 30th or 31st. And don't even think about the next month till this one's done. You know, like I said, I'm planning on how we can hit 80 million next year.
So then how are you managing that? Because I have definitely seen, and you and I have talked over the past few months, those frustrations build when you're like, it's just not moving as fast as you want to. You see what needs to happen, and you know who needs to execute, but there's so many things out of our control.
And that's and wanting to empower the leaders and let them do it. And that's been my biggest struggle is if I go fix everything, like we've said, they're never going to do it on themselves. They're never going to come up with new ideas to prevent these problems because, well, Darren, take care of it. You can write off anything. Like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to have to override anything. So it's patience and is what it is. For so long, man, I analyzed the stock of a sales guy. Good sales guy, all right? Like the confidence, how they talk, this and that, right? Those traits, they're gone. The communication will always be there for me, right? But it's not live or die on communication with this guy. You might not have to talk to anybody. So it's reanalyzing. Stock is such a terrible word. But reanalyzing the caliber of person or the type of person you want in certain roles. That's new to me. And then it's a different animal, right? Like I used to get on the phone and show those guys I could outcall them, outclose them. I still can. I don't need to get out every day and prove I can still hump deck packs or go on deliveries, but they've seen me in the yard clean for 2 days. They've seen me pick up trash every morning when I get in, and that's the byproduct is them seeing it. To me, I don't do it to put on a show. It's just like, no, this is our operation. This is what it's supposed to look like. And if it's not getting done, I will do it today, not tomorrow. So it's that involvement of leadership, but then I'm still like, no, let him handle that one. Or you're going to do it every day. Like that's where I'm still struggling on like, well, no, that project's okay if it does take a week.
Right.
We're old mindset, let's go fix it right now, Dennis. Right? Fix it and move on to the next one.
Yeah, fix it. That's a famous
I'm gonna go
phrase.
fix it right now.
What's going on? All right, I'll fix it.
Fix it. If he can't, find someone who can.
Don't know what the long-term effects of this fix are going to be, but he's going to fix it.
And then letting us another biggie, and I'm jumping around a little bit here, but another biggie is extending the be human first. Like if you got to go take care of your family, right? Because you get the right guys that you give that kind of freedom to, they respect the hell out of it and don't abuse it. And showing them that, like, I used to always joke, my feelings are in the truck, like I have them, but I'm here to work. Mm-hmm. Showing even the roughest, toughest yard guy, you got feelings for him. There's still so many companies that don't even think that's important or don't even think that's a thing.
Yeah.
You got your days off, and if you need a doctor's appointment, like, we want the family guys, we want the guys with kids, but to say that you can't go help them when they're sick or you can't stay home and watch them because you guys had conflicting stuff, like.
I think that's huge, and I think that goes, like, I think business owners, management, they forget every person's coming to work for one reason and one reason only, and that is to take care of their family. Whether it's, we have a few single guys that don't have a family, but most people have a significant other, if not kids,
A big
varying
old why.
ages. Why? And so is their participation at Rocky Mountain making their family life better? If it is not, they're never going to be happy and they're never going to stay.
Nope, and that's just it. We're encouraging them to work so hard on their work self, but you've encouraged me to be a better person, to think differently about certain situations. So then it goes back and forth. Like, I can go be a better father, right? If I can go be there for my kid right now. I got to go right this second, right? Like, then what that's going to do at home is then going to double up back at work, because then, man, I get to go to sleep. Like, man, I'm in a good spot. My family needed me. I did it. Didn't damage anything at work. I'm going to go back and work even harder because I have a job like that.
So yeah, because I'm a believer in the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. And if we're
Absolutely.
out of balance, if I see tons of people that are great at home and they don't give anything at their job, that's eventually going to erupt into something. Or I see people that, more common, they are workaholics, give everything, and their family life is deteriorating and they never see their kids. That's eventually going to erupt. So
That's a biggie, though, because, again, we're encouraging it's a lifestyle, right? Like, biggest thing about here is I don't come here and be a robot, right? Like, if I was going to go out tonight or take my wife out, I wouldn't change my clothes. This is who I am. And I get to be that person. So who I'm striving to be at work is a lifestyle at home as well, because then they bounce off of each other, man. Because, like, not having the black cloud of, like, oh, my family fucking needs me right now, right? And I can't go. Well, you're going to be worthless at work.
yeah, you're going to be there,
So
but you're not going to be there
why
mentally.
dictate, no, you stay here to prove a point? He's costing you money at this point. Let him go do that, come back fresh and make twice as much. And you see that in ops too, like, it has been 100 degrees and dusty for 2 weeks. I get it. You need a break? You want to take off early. What?
Yeah.
Go surprise your wife. Remember? Like, come home a few hours early. And what that does mentally, refreshness, you aren't just always stressed out over, like, what's work doing? Like, I can't ever leave work. This will happen. My family doesn't know me because I'm working tens. Like,
That's why I say empathy is so important. Just like remember, like, what's it like to have been in the yard the past 2 weeks when it was 100 degrees? That's got to have sucked. How are those guys doing? Whether it's a small thing or bringing them water or just, hey, do you need like a break? We need to start planning some time off here or something? Or
yeah, exactly. And it's starting to, right? Like, took a week off, which he never thought he could. So it's a lifestyle, and it's your encouragement to, when you talk to us about being better, thinking better. It's not just at Rocky to make you more money. Like, everybody truly believes, like, you want the best for us, and we have this unique spot to make money. So it's hard to do, man, but it's being a human, being able to be yourself, but then know, like, yo, me trying to get better as a lifestyle, it's not just work. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better son, better husband, better dad, better for my own personal self. And then it just makes you, you know what I mean? They start breeding you.
I totally know what you're talking about.
Then you're better at home and you're fresher at work, and then you start reaping the benefits. Like, well, no, work's going great. I'm going to take my family on a vacation. My family's doing great. I'm going to focus on work hardcore this week because I know my family's straight. Like, and who's having those conversations, right? What owners are talking like that? I don't know. The places I've worked in the past didn't. Maybe there's more. Hopefully there's more now because, you know, with mental health being more prevalent as it should be than ever, you know, back in the day, you know, you're tired. You're fine.
You're fine.
You're fine.
Walk it off.
Yeah. Or it's just like, man, if I could go ride my bike for an hour and take this afternoon off, I'm going to get 24 hours out of tomorrow's 10-day work. You know?
Absolutely.
And just being aware of how they affect each other for the good. You know, not instead of just being like, well, no, I pay him to be here 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Dad's thing.
Yeah. And it was more where you've said that you guys are paid for your value, not your time. Because we've all had those days where we can do 4 hours of hardcore valuable work. You know, that's way more than an 8-hour paycheck. It's just like, no, I actually did 20 hours of work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally. I always used to see when I would come back from some of my longest trips, be gone 3-4 weeks at different times. In foreign countries, different culture. Didn't think about this place at all because I couldn't, because I'm too busy trying to navigate foreign languages and signs I can't read. And I would come back and I would get bombarded with problems or scenarios or developments. And I felt like in those moments, I saw things so much more clearly than I would have seen them just 3 weeks prior, before that trip. And because I saw more clearly, I was able to cut through the distraction and be like, we just need to do this. And so those 3 weeks saved us months of work because we went in this direction instead of this big, long way to get to the same.
It helps you clarify and isolate.
And so whether it's an afternoon bike ride that gives you that clarity, or I'm a big believer in that. And that's what I always, you know, we consume a ton of Grant Cardone here. And this flies in the face of some of the stuff that he says about work-life balance or whatever. And I actually think we're saying a lot of the same things. We just go about the execution differently.
Absolutely.
But I think that, like, you have to be in that mentally fresh state. He has his own tricks for doing that, and everyone does. For you, it's a bike ride. A bike ride would stress me out doing the mountain biking, and that wouldn't be my
right.
Wouldn't be my thing. But everyone needs to get to that place, because then when you do come back, you're that much better. What you get done in an hour is you can get 10 hours worth of stuff done by working smarter, more intelligently.
And no one can argue that.
So it's just like, why don't we give it more attention, right? Like, man, Mark, you know, he's been here at 7 and left at 6 for 25 years. We went to Fountain yesterday. We didn't meet him till 9 o'clock. Antsy dude. Didn't know what to do, right? Well, this time he went and worked out. And he was just like, oh, man, if I could find a way to do that. You know, and this is after 27, again, years of doing it. And it was just like.
So that 45-minute workout has you like this today? Wow. No disrespect, Mark, but it's like those little things affect the mental state when we're sitting here accrediting this crazy growth to mental state. For us to not be aware of it or encourage it.
I think that's the hardest thing for people to wrap their minds around, because we can't point to the metric of, for every hour we give these guys to do this equates in the numbers. It's so much more ambiguous than that, but we've seen that this overall philosophy applied long term on a broad area has yielded ridiculous results.
I was telling my dad the other day, who ran sales team for 40 years. I said, and he was old school, right? Late. Friday afternoon, Dad, can I take off early? No, it's a good time to get ahead for Monday morning. All right. I was telling him how
when we had full control or took over, how we didn't micromanage these guys. And the guys that couldn't handle that, they're gone. the guys that thrive in that, they're here earlier. They're making more calls. They're more disciplined. Their lunches aren't long.
We don't have sales managers being like, that was an hour and a half lunch today.
We don't need that. We don't. And once you get past and weed out those few guys and get a majority of the team that operates that way,
it's tightened up. We have more people here early than we did when we were told 7:30 no matter what.
Because it's everything we talk about comes together in this scenario here. If we have a sales division manager come to us with a plan where he says, I'm going to hit $6 million in sales or $7 million in sales next year, and then we give him complete freedom for how much time he has off, because it was his plan and that was his number, he's self-motivated to hit that. So if he takes off for a week because he wants to go wherever with his family, he doesn't need to be told by us to, well, then that means prior to and after, you're going to have to put in the extra hours necessary. He's already so motivated to hit that goal because it was his, not dictated from us.
and then that feels so much better for him too, right? Like, no, I told him I was going to hit that, and I'm tracking, and yeah, I am. I'm going to take a week off right now because I'm so confident in what I got going on, and that's what we have been able to build, and it's empowering to an extent, right? Like we used to say, like, oh, look, he's got the matches. Look, he's about to burn the house down.
Right, exactly.
Right? Let him burn his finger, not burn the machine down. And again, it starts to just, then you get the next guy that might be just a little bit higher into that way of living, right? And then he's going to push it. And I mean, it's taken years, man.
Well, it has. I was just thinking about that, how it was kind of started, like this philosophy started so small, and then it had to slowly spread its way out, and then those people had to work their way up to where they had the skill and the experience to be leadership, and now they're disseminating that back down, and so now it's self-propagating.
Self-propagating with lots of history, and it's the same team. They've seen the promotions, they've seen guys get moved up, they've seen, again, the structure or the ability to move up or something to strive to if he is a top sales dog but doesn't want to be in sales his whole life, right? We now have visions of how that person can make the company better in other areas. And then it just becomes the collective, like you've always said, man, the collective mindset and getting everybody rowing in the same direction. Once you get, man, what are we up to? 95%, I think, everybody rowing in the same direction.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's an unstoppable force, and the people that aren't, they'll fall off. They can't handle it. And that's why, again, like, art and science, man. It is.
Yeah, what we do, it's part art, part science.
Art and science, like you always say with our sales, right? And you've taken that to pure leadership of, you can't always define exactly like, well, I told him this and it empowered him.
Exactly. You know, when I was launching my brand last year, and they were like, they basically were telling me, you need to quantify this. So what are your major pillars of leadership? Like, can you boil it down to 4 points or 5? I'm like, no, dude, I don't know how to quantify this.
And so much of it's in the moment.
It is in the moment.
Or it's reactions or not reacting, you know? You've never been a knee-jerk reaction guy. Like, the place is too big to have any knee-jerk reactions. But
I have found every time I did have one knee-jerk reaction this year, and it just created, like, the headaches that knee-jerk reactions create are, it reinforces every time that if I'm in a highly emotional state, a negative emotional state, I need to go to my office, close the door for 5 minutes, and calm down before I make any decisions. Right.
Which you've always done. But you also have the passion of, like, we've said, like, no, we're easy going and chill till you f*** with it. Like, we see it so clear what this place is doing for us and how we're still just getting started.
For me, it's all about intent. I don't care how many times people mess up or make mistakes, as long as they're always trying to improve. But if I see someone deliberately being disrespectful, the intent is bad.
That was back to my little ops powwow, man. Are you talking shit about the company and procedures that have been going on forever that obviously work? Or do we have a little internal beef between two personalities?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that at the end of the day. It was just like, just do your job right. We're both fine. on both sides.
Well, we've been going for over an hour, so we should wrap this up. And
Let me ask you one quick thing first.
Okay. This should be interesting.
How have you been able to, and I know this, but it'd be cool to hear, how have you done what you've done and maintained your same humbleness, not only humbleness, because you match that with your passion, but how have you maintained that and not, I mean, you are at the head of a $50 million company. I know it's all of our company, and we love that, but it is your company. You have tripled what your dad did. How are you staying so humble? How do you stay focused on the people aspect of it and not go take off with some money and leave us? You know what I mean? Like, what keeps you staying you as things have changed over the past 10 years for you?
I guess a couple answers come to mind on that question. First off, it's always remembering that I didn't do this alone. I did this with a lot of really, really great people, as I've said. And so I feel indebted to those individuals. So I never forget that. Like, if I walked away and we're going to go start this from scratch all over the place, I would have to build years of relationships to start it all over again.
Right.
That's number one. And two, it goes back to the old thing that we're taught, like when we're preschoolers, treat others as you want to be treated. You know, like, I wouldn't want to be left high and dry, so I'm not going to leave somebody else high and dry. And so that's why I'm always asking things like, where do you want to be in 10 years?
Yeah.
You know, those key people that I am indebted to that have been, here for all this time. Where's everyone trying to go? How can we all get there by working together day to day here? And in the process, leave a legacy of a company
For
generations. So we match all those goals of taking care of our individual families and what we're trying to do and achieve there. If we can synergize all of that, and that's just by being human and talking about where we're going, what motivates us, what we want to do, what we like, what we don't, what we hate, what we love, then so that's what keeps me going. So we all know that at some point I want to sail off and retire in Hawaii. We know you want a ranch in Colorado. Different people have different goals, and so how can we synergize all these long-term goals and have some fun playing this game we call business today?
Yeah.
Make some money along the way, and I don't know. It's from just trying to treat people as I want to be treated, show them the respect that I would want to be shown, and keeping my eye on both short-term, the numbers of today, because that game is fun,
Right.
and am I going where I want to get my long-term goals?
Am I setting those up? Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably a convoluted answer, but that'd be the
it
best
is,
way I can
but
answer
it's
it.
Being a human and remembering how we did this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my question. You had a wrap-up question.
I actually think that's a better wrap-up question. The other one's going to take us in a totally different direction. So I think this wraps up our entire topic nicely.
I think it does too, because again,
It is the team, right? It is, and it's not just a core team at the top. It's the team, right? 70+ individuals, and keeping that perspective and their point of view.
like you just said, like treating people like back to the basics. I don't see why people get away from that, and I think it's ego a lot of times. But again, I don't want to discredit that. Like, well, no, I let some guys make some decisions. No, that's the surface, man. You empowered us. You gave us the ability to make good decisions and also think big and small at the same time. If you don't have somebody pushing you to think bigger, that's how you get in your routines, or it is the way it is, right? Instead of being like, well, no, anything's on the table. It's leadership. It's true raw leadership too. It's not dictatorship.
Yeah, I don't get off on dictating at all. I don't want that.
We've seen it, right?
Yeah.
We've seen the reactions of it, and then you see the guys, oh, it's a paycheck. Like, no, this could be a life-changing job.
And I enjoy that. I get off on that. When I see people come in here at one level of life and in a very short period of time, they have dramatically changed their lifestyle, I love that.
An example right here, man. 10 years ago was a little different than...
And we see that on a regular basis. Every year we have new success stories.
Everywhere. And now it's not just the top sales guy and the managers, right?
Right.
It's everywhere. It's looking for houses or whatever they need to do to better themselves. And also just the constant reinforcement of like, no, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and this is how.
Yeah.
And then it just gets easier because now we can be like, it's all of our stats are in the computer.
Absolutely.
Or ask the bank. So it's been
Yeah,
fun.
it has been fun. I like what we built. I think we've improved our own lives. We've improved others' lives. We make the world a better place through building materials.
Absolutely. That's what I'm telling these guys, man. We sell something to make the shelter better, make people's oasis better. Like
I was thinking about the other day, we create the nicest stages for family events. I was thinking about these mountain homes that people VRBO and have their holidays for and all that. Like, if you truly think about what we do, we create these beautiful settings for people to create memories or be families or have experiences, both good and bad. But if you're in this very nice mountain house with all these cool products on it that you don't see all the time, that has a different vibe to it, it's going to create a different setting for those people. And like, that's where I think we're different. Like, we think like that. It's not just building materials. It's like we truly are improving.
So that's interesting food for thought for me because I don't think about that very often. I don't think about the products that we do. The products that we do are just what's the word I'm looking for? It's just kind of what happened to be here for the company. Like, I didn't choose these products. My dad did.
Right.
And I enjoy and respect our products, and I love looking at it that way. I'm gonna chew on that over the coming days. I've never thought about that. I've always thought we serve a core human need in the shelter.
But it's even further.
But I've always focused on how we change lives, and so that's why I've always focused more internally. And I think that's part of our strength. That's part of my weakness. I rely on these people that I'm thinking about, everyone at Rocky Mountain, to think about how we are better externally.
And that shows too with our contractor following and our base. Our family doesn't stop for the people that get paid by Rocky Mountain.
Boy at my house, he's been buying from us from 17 years. He talks to Jesus every day on his cell phone. Probably talks to Mark too. There's guys that we know like coworkers that don't work for us.
And that's the extended family. Then they get to go create these places for other families.
Absolutely.
So that's where, again, I think we're different. Like, it's not just wood and iron. We just send those trucks out. It's just like, no, look at
what these products do for people's lives, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, I like that. I have a tendency to just focus purely on the inside because I know everyone else is focused on the outside.
Right.
So.
Well, and we always just see lumber packs driving by the window, right? We don't see the finished product all the time.
Yeah, but I've been going to a ton of Rapids games recently, and have recently been getting tickets on the little box level of the Summit Club, and there's blue stain everywhere in there, and I just found out it's all ours.
Yep.
Another one just came up that we sold it yesterday. Coors is building an outdoor restaurant there at the brewery. And
cool.
We sold them a bunch of fencing to fence all of that in. On the Rocky Stadium, it's everywhere. And then, what I was thinking out, these retreats are usually in these nice mountain homes or the mastermind. You want to pick that nice vibe setting. We're at Dodson, right? Those are the type of shelters that we're helping with.
Yep.
So, not to get too deep, man, but that's, again, I think that sets us apart. We think like that. We think about our people on that level and each other. Wraps it all up, man. That's where the growth is. We can find the science of, you can buy better, you can get more trucks.
But that's
a lot of people driving those trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, thanks for taking the time to sit down. It's easy for us to not do this because we know each other so well. We take it as a foregone conclusion. We know how each other think, and we really do. But seldom do we get to share that with the world. And I think what we're doing here is special. And I wish I could easily quantify it and say, here's the formula. You do this to your company, and you can get similar results.
Yeah, it's coming.
But it's coming. But it's more ambiguous than that. But I think a conversation like this gives a greater glimpse underneath the hood of what we're doing and why what we're doing is so special and why it works.
Absolutely, it's not just buying and selling.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It was lots of fun. It's like I said, we could go on for hours, but then when you get in conversations like this and you start thinking in real time, it's like it's the people, it's the mental, it's the mindset, and it's the people.
100%.
So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.